Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Those famous words, are you ready? Let's dig in.
That's actually in the intro, right? When I heard that in the back of the room, I was like, I am not ready. Man, we should keep the jokes to a minimum before we record. That's my fault, though.
Well, you're in rare form today, though.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I got kicked out of a meeting.
Yeah,
the lead pastor got kicked out of a meeting.
That's all right.
It's Thursday, and I'm wearing my Mountain Dew shirt.
Yeah.
So
what in the King of the Hill is that reference?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that's what's going on right now. And Ryan's at work today, which always makes me happy. So
yeah, that's good. Do you feel that way about me sometimes?
Sometimes.
I think people just know I'm going to be here, and so depending on how you wake up in the morning, you're like, Jared's going to be there. So, anyways, hey, really quick plug for everybody that's listening. Next week we have our summer celebration that's happening at Rippling Waters Campground. It is a fun time. It is something completely different from what we do on Sundays, but it's just awesome. We get to hear from different pastors from the section. Yeah. You oversee it and put all the things together, so having really good conversations with those people. Our worship team is going to be leading worship.
Yes.
It's just amazing. It's a lot of work leading up to it, and obviously sometimes with everything that we have going on with what we do here on a week-to-week basis, and there's some stress moments, trying to get all this and try to get people where they're at. But at the end of the week, I think we've done this every single year that I've been a part of it. I look over at you and you're like, man, that was just a great week.
Yeah, it's like that every single week, every year. We've done this. I think, is this my third year?
Yeah.
Yeah, and both times it's always been like, leading up to it, I'm like, I want to resign.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore. And then by the end of the week, I'm like, I've got to do this again. Because it ends up being worth it, because it does. The worship is awesome. The speaking has been fantastic. The speaking this year is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
We got people from all the way from Canova, West Virginia, all the way down to Beckley, all the way up to Morgantown. Preaching.
And we're kicking it off with Jim Lyons.
Yeah, the general director of the Church of God. And, I know not a lot of the folks at Southridge are Church of God folk. They didn't, they weren't raised in it or whatnot.
Yeah.
But, having the general director of the Church of God come to our camp meeting, and he's going to be at Southridge on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
This is a dude that literally travels around the world on behalf of the whole Church of God.
Yeah.
Is highly sought after speaker, an author, just public figure, and he's coming to West Virginia.
Yeah.
It's I can't wait for that Sunday morning. 2 days from now, he's going to be here at Southridge preaching. He's just very gracious too. He's going to preach inside of the series that we're doing.
Yeah.
So he's going to be continuing Fight Song, instead of just, most speakers that with that sort of pedigree and that sort of resume, they get to do whatever they want. And he's no, I'd love to just do what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And such. And so.
Or what you see a lot of times is big name people, they'll have 10 sermons that they just kind of cycle through because they get asked to preach a lot. And so they can fine tune and just make a really good impact. But it's, I'm glad that he's going with our sermon series.
Sunday night at camp, he's kicking off camp meeting for us, or summer celebration for us.
Yeah.
And he's going to be sharing about the 5 non-negotiables of the Church of God. Like, these are the 5 things as a movement that we must agree on.
Yeah.
And then what we're going to do the next 5 nights is each of the different speakers will take one of those 5 that he's going to introduce and dive deeper for the whole night on it. And these 5 are I mean, they are. This has kind of been what he's done while he's been in office.
Yeah.
Is really try to get the Church of God focused on these 5 things. Because the Church of God, like most people don't know this, like we're not a denomination, we're considered a movement, and because of that, all the local churches have autonomy, and even within that, the Church of God folk will tell you there's not like a set like articles of faith or anything like that, or like these are our beliefs. Like we say that the Bible is what we follow, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of when you try to organize people from all around the world into one movement, but say, listen, we're just going to follow what the Bible says. Well, anyone with a brain knows, well, a lot of that is subject to interpretation. So trying to get these people from all around the United States and Canada and really even all around the world to buy into what are the 5 things, though, that we have to be about.
Yeah.
Like, has been such a helpful thing that I think Jim has done. And so I'm very excited to have him in town. I'm excited to get to meet him and spend some time with him.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be a gigantic blessing to our church and to the kickoff of camp meeting. So,
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, it's a lot of work leading up to it. I think I told somebody, one of the staff pastors, I was like, I don't know that I want to do this again next year. It's a lot of work, especially since it's like, a 45-minute drive, and it's trying to get a lot of those people just during the week. It's difficult. But at the end of every single night, I'm just like, man, God Almighty, it's just so awesome just to not do things in the way that we typically do it on a Sunday. It's a stretching, but it's good. But even taking it like a little bit of the production value back is encouraging for us, because we can just focus on doing what we do absolute best, and that's just leading worship and leading people in worship. So, but I'm excited, looking forward to it. We just want to invite everybody. Y'all should come. It's at Rippling Waters Campground in Kenna, West Virginia.
Yep. On Sunday, the service starts at 6. On Monday through Friday, services start at 7. There's fellowship activities after, which that's like Christianese for like we're going to be hanging out afterwards with food.
Yeah.
So that's what every night there's going to be something. There's kids ministry during the service. There's a nursery during the service. Like, definitely come out.
For sure. Well, we're continuing our discussion in Judges. Last time that you were on, we talked about Ehud and that crazy story. And if you haven't listened to it, I highly encourage you to go back and listen to it, just because it's an amazing episode. But we're in Judges 4, and we are going to be talking about Deborah, who is mentioned as next judge over Israel. Mm-hmm. So after Ehud's death, obviously this is just the common theme. Israel starting to do evil things in the sight of the Lord. And so what happens is that Israel is going to be once again under ruthless oppression.
Yep.
We see that, and that's what it's mentioned here in King Jabin and his right-hand man, Sisera. And just a note of who Sisera is, he is like the commander of the army. He's got this crazy amount of chariots. He's got 900 iron chariots, got thousands and thousands of warriors, I would imagine. Doesn't mention the name of or the number of how many, but just tons and tons of people.
Yeah.
And then it mentions that Deborah is now, who's a prophet, and she is now judging over Israel.
Yeah. So can we start there?
Because
I mean, you know that this is where I wanted to go.
Yes.
Anyways, this for me is one of those passages, and I know what my opponents in this arena say. This is for me one of those passages where I go, people that don't affirm women in ministry
Yeah.
and in leadership, I don't know what you do with Deborah. Other than what I've heard is they will dismiss this as, well, this is a civil position and positions in the church are different. Okay. I understand that point. I will give that to you if that's the route that you want to take. But for me, I go, you mean to tell me that God is okay with a woman, like when we say judge, we're talking about the leader of Israel.
Yeah, we mentioned this in the first episode of us going through Judges.
Yeah.
This is not the definition of what we
No.
think of.
Like,
But you also got to think if she's judging or whatever, but that means that people are bringing their problems.
She has leadership over everyone.
Yeah.
So,
but this is also God's chosen people.
Yeah.
Like this
is God's elect. At this time, this is God's elect people. She has total leadership over them.
Yeah.
It even says that she was a prophetess.
Yeah.
Which is someone who speaks on behalf of God.
Yeah.
So this wasn't just a civil position. This was someone who spoke on behalf of God as well, which is a spiritual position.
Yep.
She didn't just get relegated to children's Sunday school either.
Yeah.
She did this for the whole nation. So I'm interested in that line of thinking where they go, well, what Deborah did was that was civil leadership. So therefore, if women want to be president and politicians, we're all for that, just not in the church. And I would just go like, are we logically thinking about that statement right there, that God is okay with women leading in every facet of life other than the church? But at the church, like somehow he's like, sorry, women, second-class citizens.
Yeah.
That doesn't logically make sense to me. She's a prophetess. She is the leader of Israel. And yet we think when God started his church that he goes, sorry, women, just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I know that is a very like simplified defense of the other side. They have much more sophisticated answers than that. But when you just whittle it down to that, when you look at the story of Deborah, and again, this is just one of what I would consider many proofs of why I think the egalitarian position on female leadership should be taken in the church. It's just one of many, but when you look at it, you go like, so she is in charge of leading millions.
Yeah.
But God doesn't want a woman to be in charge of a church of 40? I mean, I just don't understand that.
Yeah.
At all. Now, there are very respectful complementarians that, like, I'm okay to agree to disagree with because they're respectful of women. They don't use their complementarian position to abuse or to belittle women. Yeah. It's just, look, at the end of the day, that's how they see the scriptures. That's fine. But at the end of the day, this is just how I see it. There are very abusive complementarians also.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that really I have a lot of words for.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not gonna mention anything, but there's been some of that in recent news, to where it's like,
we can mention it.
Yeah.
Saddleback left the largest Christian denomination in North America because of this very issue right here.
Yeah,
because the Southern Baptist Convention doesn't want to ordain women. Which it's
and they even doubled down within the last month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah,
like they doubled down on it to where it was just like, we're not even going to talk about this for like the next 40 years.
Elevation Church actually just left the SBC as well, which they were part of the SBC, and most people didn't even know that they were part of the SBC unless you're probably in the SBC or like love Elevation Church. You may not know that, but they left as well. So like when you lose Elevation Church and Saddleback, you're talking like this is congregations that would probably together equal somewhere close to, I don't know, 60 to 100,000 people every weekend.
Yeah.
Like that's a big hit all on this. And within the SBC, there, like I said, there's very kind, compassionate complementarians. There are also, and I'll just say his name, the John MacArthur type that I think he needs to check his heart on his complementarianism. It's fine to be a complementarian. I'm not an egalitarian that goes like, oh, you're an evil, awful person. No. If that's just the way that you read the Bible, that's the way that you read the Bible. But like some of the stuff John MacArthur has done in the public eye in regards to his complementarianism and anything like that is, I think, at the very least, we should question their method of communication about the topic because it's not the most loving approach. Again, you can believe what you believe about the Bible and still not be a jerk about it.
Yeah, for me, it's like I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for women in leadership because there was um, just pastors that were ordained women who, while I was getting and going through my addiction and trying to
Mm-hmm.
be freed of it, just praying for me, just reaching out to me. Hey, I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for you. I know you got this. I know that this is like a difficult time. You're trying to, just
Yeah.
basically detox your life. And, but I also look at what happens here. Some of the decisions that we have made as a church have come as a direct result because of the women that we have on our leadership
Yeah.
through Pastor Cheryl and Pastor Anna, and then looking down at our elder board with the women that serve in that capacity too. It's just like,
As long as I've been at Southridge, our elder board has been dominated by women.
yeah,
Actually, and now some of that is because it's always been very hard to find men in the congregation that are spiritually mature and willing to lead in the church.
yeah,
As well, which I think is one of the reasons why God has opened up leadership to women is for that very reason.
yeah,
So like Southridge has always been, the Church of God in general is an egalitarian movement,
yeah,
but within egalitarian circles, you have people that are theologically egalitarian, but like practically are complementarian, meaning
yeah,
like they believe in women in ministry, but just not at my church, please.
yeah,
I'm like that is what it means to be theologically egalitarian,
yeah,
but practically you are a complementarian.
yeah,
Females in leadership, yes, please, but only at other churches, not at mine. That's the way that a lot of egalitarian circles end up running.
yeah,
Whereas here at Southridge, like there's always been women on the staff in a pastoral role. The head elder when I was hired, and for I don't know the first 6 years I was in leadership of this church was a lady,
yeah,
and up until last year, it's always been the majority on that board have been ladies. So like when Southridge says that we're egalitarian, we're not just theologically egalitarian. We are practically and functionally egalitarian in that. In fact, I joke about it all the time. Like, look, I'm hiring a dude the next time that I hire because we've done so much for women in ministry already, which is a complete joke, by the way. So before anyone sends me an email, like we just hire the best person for the position,
yeah,
and we have found recently that God has been sending ladies
yep,
here that are called, and again, I think that this is a topic that I wish that the church would just agree to disagree rather than be divisive about.
yeah,
Because, like, for me, unless you are the John MacArthur type of, like, aggressive complementarian,
yeah.
I can have love for someone that goes, this is just the way I read the Bible.
Now his take is like basically it's almost kind of like a belittling
I mean, it's
of women,
well, I think his take is like
right?
anyone else's take. He just has a way of like when now first off, he was I don't know, this was at some conference or something, and like again, the people that organized this should have known better
Yeah.
than to like play a word association game with John MacArthur,
Oh
where
yeah.
they're asking him
Yeah.
certain people's names within the church, which I think is a very divisive and borderline sinful thing to do in the first place. And when Beth Moore's name comes up, he goes, "Go home." Like, what? How is that? How do you talk about a sister in Christ like that who has had such an impact on so many people? You don't have to agree with her calling or her theology, but to speak in that manner
Yeah.
is not Christ-like whatsoever.
Look at how many women do those Bible studies. Even some guys take them. I know a lot of them are women focused, but look at how closer their relationships are because
Yeah.
of all the good that she is, like all those books and studies that she's put. Like, why would you?
Again, like
Why would you say something like that?
Play that game with me, and like you could tell me certain people's names that I disagree with theologically, but I don't have to be rude and dismissive about it. And that's that version of complementarianism that I think is very harmful to the church. Whereas I will give complementarianism if it's just the way that you see the Bible, but you can present that in a loving and honest and clear way, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But like when there seems to be angst in your theological position, then I think that's where a lot of the issue comes from.
Yeah.
But it's just very hard for me because the pushback people always give about Deborah is, well, that was in the Old Testament. That was in the Old Testament. Clearly God said something different in the New Testament. If I wanted to preach a whole sermon on this, which I have done multiple times, I can show you that it's not just an Old Testament thing. But again, why does that matter? Here's a precedent, like 6 books into the Bible, or 7 books into the Bible, where God goes, no, this might be 8. This is after Ruth, right?
Yeah.
Where God put a lady in charge of the whole nation.
Yeah.
And so it's just like in my mind, I'm thinking, well, how do we come to the conclusion that after that God just changes his mind? You know what? No women in leadership.
Yeah.
I know. In the past, I put one over millions of people. I know, but no, that church of 12 people, you better not have a woman in charge there.
Yeah.
That is just logically incomprehensible for me, and something that I want to like help raise up women in leadership, especially in the church, because I think that's what Jesus did. Mm-hmm. There was not a woman that Jesus came in contact with in the New Testament that he did not elevate her station in life.
Yeah.
That he did not show complete dignity and honor to, and treat just like he would treat anyone else.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to go, yes, Jesus went and talked to the woman at the well, which was socially, culturally out of bounds in every possible way. And yet, if that lady had come and joined his church, he'd go, now listen, you better not teach. Okay, I guess. Like maybe there's no way that you see all that Jesus does in the Gospels for women that you come to this conclusion that he makes this hardline stance that goes, sorry, you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah.
That doesn't resonate with me, because I think I know what 1 Timothy says. I get it. I know what some of the things Paul says in some of the letters to Corinthians. I've studied all of that ad nauseum at this point. But like, there's a reason why the first evangelist ever in the Bible to proclaim the risen Christ is a woman.
Yeah.
But yet she's not allowed to do that behind the pulpit. Come on. Let's do better.
Yeah. I agree 100%. So we see Deborah, we learn that she is a prophetess, that she is in charge of the nation of Israel. And then one day she sends for Barak, and she said to him, this is what the Lord of God of Israel commands you to do. Call out 10,000 warriors from these tribes, Naphtali and Zebulun, at Mount Tabor, and I will call out Sisera. Remember, he is the leader of King Jabin's army, and along with his chariots and the warriors, and I will give you victory over them. And then really interesting thing happens. Barak looks at her and goes, I will go, but only if you go with me. And then she looks at him and goes, all right, that's fine, but I want you to know that you're not going to get credit for anything that's about to happen, and everybody will know that they lost at the hands of a woman.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting.
Doesn't that sound like your wife or my wife?
It's interesting to me that
like if we
Barak,
said that, we had that conversation with our wife. Hey, I'll help you out with this, but I want everybody to know that you had nothing to do with this, and it was all me.
Yeah. Well,
not poking, but it sounds like something Erica would say.
Right, but again, it's like, wow, this guy was so willing to follow Deborah. Like, willing to follow Deborah. That's incredible. Like, and they were going to make sure that they know that the victory did not come through him.
Yeah.
Like, that is I'm probably not going to get off the soapbox this whole episode, but there's a reason why complementarianism has always been attractive to men in the church.
Yeah.
Because to not be complementarian requires a level of humility to follow someone that you don't want to follow.
Yep.
And what Barak shows us in this story is a level of humility to follow Deborah, which is, I think, a very powerful picture of humility and a willingness to be led. Because, I mean, doesn't it say that he's not going to go? Like, he was kind of scared.
It says, he says, I will go, but only if you go with me. The conversation before that is just saying, there, I will give you victory over him. And then I call it Barak because that's what my dad had a business and he spelled it like that. And that's how he pronounced it. So it just reminds me of my dad's first business or whatever.
This is going to be a potluck first right here.
What's that?
I'm going to get handed another coffee because I'm, like, dying.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. You better leave a good tip.
Wait till you see wait till you see the message that I put in Slack.
Oh, Lord.
For those that are listening that don't know, I'm now a award winner in the movie business. But I said, I promise that's not going to my head. I just am recording and really wanted more coffee.
Yeah.
And I could either pause this whole recording to go do that or just ask someone to help me out. Now, I did think that Megan would be the one that would help me out in this and not someone else. But
yeah,
I'm very appreciative of Pastor Cheryl for, see, again, that's what humility looks like.
Yes.
That's what, see, I'm going to tie this thing right in. I'm going to tie this right into this podcast. But no, I think that's incredible. That I've always said Barak. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think it matters.
It didn't matter.
He.
You can say Barak.
He has to be. He has to be scared if he won't go without her.
Yeah.
What is it though about her? Like, she must have been a pretty fantastic leader.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want to go without her into battle, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and so she ends up going with him. They call out Sisera just like they said. Then Deborah looks at him and says, "Get ready. This is the day the Lord will give you victory over Sisera." And so he led those 10,000 people. They started fighting with all the chariots. And what happens is that Sisera's his battalion, whatever you want to call it, they all start going into a panic.
Yeah.
And I would have guessed they just start killing each other, but then Barak comes in and starts, finishing them off, essentially.
Yeah.
And so Sisera jumps off, and then he runs into a tent, and because of
this is where the story gets so good.
This is where, where we hope that...
this is one of those scenes that the Chosen needs to make the Old Testament when they're done, because this would be awesome TV.
Game of Thrones type stuff.
Yeah, this is like Hollywood motion picture type stuff. So he goes into the tent of Jael.
Yeah, I get fuzzy on this because then they start introducing like all different types of names. All I know is that
Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. There was friendly relations between Jabin and Heber.
Yeah.
So Sisera thinks that he's fleeing into friendly
territory.
Territory, yeah. He knows Jael most likely, or at the very least knows of her, and thinks, hey, these people are our allies.
Yeah.
So he goes in there. I'm telling you, this story is so like it's like, look, the Bible tells you what happened because it's what happened. Like, it's not like
in really good detail too.
Yeah, it's not like trying to spare the details or whatever. So when he gets in there, clearly he's thirsty because he's been out fighting all day and apparently getting his butt kicked, which was awesome.
Yeah,
because they should have been the heavy favorites, I'm going to guess, to win this battle. And so she gives him milk, which this must have been like a cultural thing. Because I'm going to be honest, if I was out all day in the hot sun in the Middle East fighting, I'm not drinking milk.
I've got this hot leather bag with milk in it.
And they don't have refrigeration or anything like. I'm not drinking hot milk on a day that I've been out fighting. Like I would love,
milk was a bad idea.
Yeah, like on the Sunday 1 p.m. Game down in Miami.
Yeah,
I'd love for them to just offer up some warm milk to those guys. They're not taking that ever.
No,
but she gives them the warm milk, and then she covers him up. He's gonna lay down, and
he asked her to stand at the door, and if somebody says, "Hey, we're looking for this guy," she's just supposed to say, "Nope, there's nobody in the tent." And
this is great, but
this is where it gets really interesting.
So then
she agrees to it. She's just like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I've got you.
I'll tell him I saw him run. You were running that way," and he's probably like, "Good job."
Yeah, I've got this under control. And while he is not paying attention, JL grabs a tent peg and drives it through his temple.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Well, not just that. It's not just like a little tent peg. It's long enough to go from one side to the other and pierce into the ground.
Yeah, she drove the peg through his temple. This is what it says in 21. Into the ground. And then it adds this little extra words. And he died.
Yeah.
It's
obviously.
Hopefully. I mean, it would be like that guy from Happy Gilmore walking around with a nail in his head. It comes out next week. It's like they drove a tent peg. It threw his head into the ground, and he lived to talk about it.
Yeah.
No.
And Sisera was a vegetable. No. Yeah. He died.
Yeah, he did not make it. And so Barak, let's call him B.
Yeah.
B comes along, and he's in pursuit of Sisera. JL comes out and says, I'll show you the man that you're looking for. And I'm going to guess this is not what B had in mind.
Oh, no. Because he's like, look, he's lying there dead, and he's got a tent peg through his temple.
If I were B, I'd be like, hey, look, I'm not coming in there. Like, I don't trust you now either. You're just driving tent pegs through people. Where do you even get this idea from?
Yeah.
Of all the different ways that you could kill this guy, that's what you chose?
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Well, you got to think of, like, all of the different times leading up to this that they have been ruthlessly oppressed, just like it mentions in the Bible. In verse 3, Sisera, who had 900 chariots, ruthlessly oppressed the Israelites for 20 years. Whenever I think of ruthless oppression, I think of some of the most vile and evil acts that could be committed towards humanity. And so it was probably not something that was just crazy and outlandish. It was probably something that maybe she had had seen before and been a part of, or just seen something terrible and atrocious happen to somebody that she knew. And so what I like about this is that this is the start of something that it says towards the end of the chapter. It says, so on that day Israel saw God defeat Jabin, the Canaanite king. And from that time on, Israel became stronger and stronger against King Jabin until they finally destroyed him.
Yeah.
So you see this building up of the nation of Israel during this time that Deborah is in leadership, and God is continuing to strengthen them to be able to overcome their enemies. And so God is obviously blessing the nation of Israel because of one woman's obedience to what God has put on her heart, what God has told her to do. And she said, yes, I'm saying yes to obedience. I've got a yes in my spirit. I'm going to continue to be blessed by God because of that obedience, Yeah. So it's just another way of saying it doesn't matter who's in leadership, whether it's a guy or a gal, as long as you are obedient and you're listening to God, that there are blessings that can come from that. There are growing periods that can come from that. There are strengthening periods that can come from that, and the Holy Spirit's going to move regardless.
Yeah, well,
as long as you're obedient.
The incredible thing too, though, like, don't underestimate the role that Barak plays in this.
Yeah,
like, do you understand that when you are willing to be led, when you're willing to not make it about you, like this is something I've been working with my all-star team on, because there's 12 of them. Our league has followed the rules like you were supposed to, and we took 12 kids. I can only play 9 of them.
Yeah.
And they actually got rid of all mandatory play rules, except for you have to use a continuous batting order. So in Little League, you used to have to put kids in the field for a minimum of 6 consecutive outs. You don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I've been trying to tell these kids, like, listen, here's our goal. We want to win a state championship. That's what we want to do. To do so, I'm not going to be able to get everybody all of what they think that they deserve.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to be able to do it. But are you more interested in winning a state championship, or are you more interested in how much you get to play?
Yeah.
And that's the same. I'll never forget me and Jason Scott, former children's pastor here, current lead pastor at Knoxville First Church of God. We went to Elevation Church to the Greater Conference. This was when me and him, neither one of us was lead pastors. We were associates during the interim after one pastor left before another one had come here, and the church sent us down to this. And we had this thing written down, and we had it written on one of the whiteboards here forever that Stephen Furtick said in one of these sessions was, are you more concerned with what you're part of or you're part of it? Because that right there, that'll tell you everything you need to know about it.
Yeah.
Barrett could have been like, yeah, I'm not following this woman. In fact, I don't even care that she's a woman. I'm not following anyone. He says that I'm not going to get the credit for this victory, then why would I want? And for Barrick, what he shows us is like, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about like it's always been about God, like the whole thing, and it doesn't matter who gets the credit for it whatsoever. That's why, and I tell our staff this here all the time. I understand that for the most part, me and you probably get more public praise than anyone because of the positions that we have, right? You sing every week. I preach almost every week.
Yeah.
And so people come up and pat us on the back all the time. But what the people that do that don't understand, and they don't have to understand it. Like they're just responding to what they see in front of them. Like what they don't see though is how what Cheryl does frees us up to do what we do. What they don't see is that the fact that Jessica is taking care of our kids' ministry in such a way that I have to give 0% of my week to our children's ministry frees me up to do that. What Anna is doing to fully take care of the teenagers of this church, and then not only that they're handling their own ministries, but that like when I need help with what I do very publicly, they're right there.
Yeah.
Cheryl's reading sermons, offering feedback. Anna's helping me with sermon illustrations and all. Like, hey, I need, you've seen it. Hey, I need a baby bottle that looks dirty. Anna's like, I can do that.
Yeah.
Right? All these people play all of these roles. They're not going to be the ones that get patted on the back normally. Yeah. And that's why when people try to congratulate me, I try to like step out of the way of it because I go like, look, again, the team that I have has cleared most of my plate so I can do what God has called me to do. But then at the end of the day, it's still God doing it.
Yep.
Like it's still not me because I wasn't a public speaker before I met Jesus.
Yeah.
I didn't like that just so this has all been him.
Yeah.
So like yes, it's amazing to me that Barak or Barack or B or whatever we want to call him says yes when he's not going to be the one that gets any credit for it. That's like, for us, like our kitchen team.
Yeah.
Right? They're feeding volunteers every week. They're setting coffee out. Anybody going up and patting them on the back, man, thank you so much. You just kill, like, no, but it's happening, and they're fine with it.
Yeah.
They're fine with it because they know that it's not about them. They also know, like, it's not about us. It's all about God, and that's what Barak understood. It was why he was willing to go and to be part of a fight that he was never going to get any credit for.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so in ministry, really in life in general, if you do stuff just for what you get out of it, like, it's just never going to go well for you.
Well, you'll never get enough.
Yeah. You're not a good team player.
But it will, but where's the end? There's always going to be an end whenever you do it to yourself, for yourself, because you'll get tired of it. the accolades won't come to you.
Exactly.
You'll get frustrated. But whenever you look at things with a kingdom mindset, and you look at what we are doing here, then you say, well, like Jesus would be hospitable if he was here.
Yeah.
He would welcome us in. He would have coffee ready for us. We'd have the AC already turned on. We would all this other stuff. And so saying yes to those things is saying, I want to be just like Jesus would be.
Yeah.
And whenever I know that if I was ever in his presence or if I ever had the opportunity in a physical sense, like whenever he was here on earth, I know that he would be doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't make it about himself. He would make it all about the other people so they felt welcome for church. And so it's one of those mindsets, like, and that's just like one of many instances. It's the same whenever you go with giving. Like, I'm not giving something so I can get a tax break. I'm giving something because I want to
be part of something bigger than me.
The kingdom expanded in Ecuador. I want to see our team just do amazing things whenever they go to New York. I want to see the lights stay on at church. I want to see what we could do in our community.
Yeah.
And I know that I can't do that on my own because my resourcefulness is not as good as whenever I can give it to a team of people and they know how to maybe maximize a dollar a little bit better, or they know the proper outlets to utilize that money instead of doing it on my own, because I know I'm not going to get any tax breaks as an individual.
Yeah.
So if I go through a church and I try to give there, then I understand that, okay, first off, they're going to get tax-free stuff because they're a 501c3 nonprofit. And so we're saving money, and all that money is going to be used towards something else. So if you look at any aspect or any area of life, it's going to be that same way.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do it for my glory. I'm trying to do it so Jesus' name could be lifted higher, so that Jesus' name is known and not my own. I don't care. I don't even want to be buried. I don't want a headstone because I don't want any of that. Just put me in ashes form and go dump me somewhere, because at the end of the day, whenever people look back and want to be like they want to talk about my life, I want them to go, man, he really loved Jesus with everything that he had. And that's the only thing I want people to talk about.
The people that run into
I want them to
issues-
say that I was a good husband and a good father too. But I want them to say that they knew without a shadow of a doubt that Jared did whatever he could.
But even those two roles for you are not about you. It's about your family, and it's about God.
Yeah.
Right? Like, people that run into issues in ministry where they end up having major issues and being dismissed from ministry are because they have forgotten who it's actually about.
Yeah.
Right? They have become their own, like, idol and icon, to where this is all about me. This is why there's, pastors that, have sexual misconduct with people and yada yada yada, because they thought all of this was about them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God has promoted me up to this point because I'm so awesome. It's like, no. When you make it about you are destined to fall. Like, when it becomes about God, then and that's what sustains you over the long haul. You know that, like, the last statistic I saw, I don't know what the most recent is, but the last one I saw, 90% of people who start out in ministry don't end in ministry.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the reason is it's hard to sustain this over a lifetime if you're not doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Right? If it's about you, well, there will never be enough public accolade. There will never be enough money. There will never be enough attaboys, pats on the back to sustain you over the life of a lifelong ministry, because ministry is very, very taxing and difficult. And again, if you're not in it because for God, you're not in it because it's all about Him, it's not about you, you will not make it. That's what I tell everyone that comes to me that says, oh, I feel called to ministry. All right, well, listen, you better make sure that you're called.
Yeah.
Because don't come into this if it's about you. Oh, man, because look, what me and you do for a living to people that are Christians sometimes looks appealing. Oh, man, they're the one with the microphone up front. Everyone's always telling them how good they're like, listen, if that's why you want to come into ministry, don't do it. You better make sure that you have a call from God, because you won't be able to be Barrick, because we've all had seasons where that had to be us.
Yeah.
I've had to I've had 6 different roles at this church. Some of them way less public than what I get to do right now.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if there's a toilet that needs scrubbed, a floor that needs mopped. You know, I was out working in the flower beds last week.
Yeah.
It's again, if it's about you, you ain't gonna do that stuff.
No.
Whatsoever. But if it's all about God and the people that He loves, that's what will sustain you, and that's what you got to learn from Barrick in this story.
And it's just
like,
not
he was
for like
okay
full-time ministry people either. It's just
no. You want to have a great business. If you're a business owner, you want to have a great business. Make it about other people and not you. If you're the CEO and it's all about you, nobody wants to work for that.
No.
No one. Show them a vision that's bigger than just making a paycheck that makes you richer. Like if you're a parent, most of us. This is where most of my parenting fails come from. Is my parenting a lot of times is about me. My kid embarrassed me. My kid frustrated me. My kid disappointed me. Whatever it is, all of that's about me.
Yeah.
You want to be a great parent? Make it about your kid.
Yeah.
Make it about showing your kid God. Your marriage. The reason why your marriage sucks is because you're making it about you.
Yep.
Make it about the other person. Make it about being Jesus to that other person. And then you'll have a fan. Could you imagine a marriage where two people care more about each other than themselves?
Yeah.
That's the key to a brilliant marriage. And it's every single area of life. You want to be a good employee? Make it about other people.
Yeah.
Like whatever, like this, we cover this in the Proverbs series. Whatever you do, do it as unto the Lord.
Yeah.
That's every area of life. Don't make it about you because it's not about you. It's always been about Him.
There's so many scriptures that talk about being selfless and humble yourselves and like God to test the proud and all of these things. It's just where we're at, man.
Yep.
Deborah.
Yeah. Deborah brings a spiciness out
I could tell.
in me because I don't, I just.
You ready for
I
your
want
favorite
everyone
part?
to get along on that topic, even if we disagree.
Yeah. Well, it just looks silly for us.
Well, I'm gonna
fight.
I'm gonna
mystery meat. Scott's favorite time is the mystery meat.
If the mystery meat was a person, it would be Sisera with a tent peg through its head.
Oh, see, this is another one. What is the best ice cream flavor? See, these haven't been bad for you, dude. These have been really good.
I could go on and on. This is a whole episode.
Okay, well,
this is a whole episode.
Then we'll put that in the docket.
Recently, all right.
That's what we should do for we have episode 100 coming up.
We should eat ice cream on it.
Do like four of us, and we just like go through. We can go get all
ice creams.
Yeah, just like go through and get like those little pints. I told you about those new ones that have like the honey bun flavor and like
I'm down with that.
The unicorn Debbie cake. I think there's one.
Oh. Those unicorn cakes are incredible.
It's crazy. They have they just took all the good pastries. There's an oatmeal cream pie ice cream. Dude, for real.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
And they're cheap too.
I went on a field trip with Landon's class towards the end of this past school year.
Yeah.
And we went to the West Virginia Outdoor Preservation or something. It's like a zoo, but for like West Virginia animals.
Yeah.
And we got ice cream there, and they had Hershey's brand ice cream is awesome.
Yeah.
And but they had mint chocolate chip, and ever since that day, I've just been obsessed.
I've been eating a lot of mint chocolate chip lately. That's
I want to find a good. I can't find the Hershey's hardly anywhere. I don't do our grocery shopping though, but like everywhere else seems to have like a pretty mediocre mint chocolate chip.
Yeah.
But that Hershey's one was killer.
The one that I've been getting is the mint chocolate chip. It's I think it's like Tillamook or something like that. That's a good one. I like it because it's like shaved of the chocolate chunks.
Yeah.
It's not like.
I would be like, it would be wrong of me. My favorite ice cream in the world is black raspberry chip from Grater's, which there's no Grater's around here, which stinks. But you can get the pints of it at Kroger.
Yeah.
Have you had it?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Black raspberry chip.
Black raspberry chip. It is the best ice cream in the world.
I like the blueberry waffle cone that they have at Kroger. They only sell it in the little pints. It's like blueberry cream cheese waffle cone. That's a good one. Megan, she says yes. But I grew up.
I like cookies and cream. I like.
So I grew up with Borden's ice cream in Louisiana, which is fantastic, and then moving to Texas, then it was Bluebell everywhere. Yeah. Not Blue Bunny, none of that stuff that comes in the big plastic case for like $3 and you get like 10 gallons of ice cream. Not that cheap crap. Bluebell.
Yep.
Goodness gracious. So
I've only had Bluebell whenever I went to San Antonio with you.
It was good.
And I got too much of it. Because I'm pretty sure I bought 2 of them.
Yes, you did.
And I tried to go after one of them really hard.
Yeah.
And I ended up not liking it very much. But it was a flavor issue. It wasn't the ice cream's fault. It was. I just chose a flavor I probably shouldn't have.
What flavor did you get?
It was the banana bread or something like that.
Oh, yeah. It was
okay.
It's all right. It's
it was
not
okay,
one of the
but I ate so much of it I couldn't enjoy the next one, and I wasted it because I was only in the hotel for one night.
What was the next one that you got?
I think I got. Do they have a cookies and cream?
They have a cookies and cream. They have a cookie dough. They have a mint chocolate chip.
It would have been one of those, and I didn't even eat any of it. I don't think.
That's a shame.
And I'm pretty sure I left it in the hotel. Yeah, we went to HEB.
Yeah,
and I went too big.
That's all right. You should have just got the little pints.
I know. Lesson learned.
You got the.
I ain't never going.
You
back
got
to
the
Texas,
half-gallon ones.
They did feel big. They felt big. I mean, you were with me.
Yeah, I probably encouraged you to get more.
They were big, but I don't plan on going back to Texas. So.
Yeah, you do.
No.
Yeah.
If I get invited to speak there, perhaps, but I would never just go to Texas.
Why is that?
It's way too hot.
Yeah, you went at the worst time.
Yeah, I was
there.
You
hired me at the absolute worst time.
Was that August that we went down there?
No, like the end of June, because my first day was like July 1st.
You came up here and lived with me, and then we went down.
Yeah, so it was
Your family came
it was
in
the
August.
middle of July.
Yeah, it was miserable.
I was only up here for 3 weeks.
I'm never going back to Texas unless it's a speaking engagement.
Yeah, that was dude. It was like 118 degrees like 2 weeks ago. But anyways,
that's craziness.
Yeah, we'll do a whole episode. That's just a good one.
Yeah,
to look forward to. Ice cream. It's good for your soul. So is this podcast. All right, we'll see you next Friday. Y'all have a good day. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. And you can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.